Hello, and welcome to my first review in an ongoing installment where I watch the Mission Impossible movies for more or less the first time and give a review on each one. As I said in my first video, I have seen this one already, but it was a very long time ago, roughly when it first came out, and I don't remember a whole lot of it. There are a couple of moments that I remember, but I don't remember the movie, you know? I also very likely didn't understand what was happening at the time. But now I've watched it for the first time in a very long time. 30 years? 25, 27 years? Something like that. And I wrote a bunch of notes while I watched it, because that's what I do. So I figured the best way to do this is probably just go through these notes and just talk about what I thought when I wrote them down. I didn't write a whole bunch of notes, which, is a good sign, I think. That old saying, no news is good news. My name is Andrew Dunn. I am a co-host of the Media Lunch Break podcast. I have my bachelor's in theater and speech communications and a master's degree in acting. And more importantly than any of that, I just like nerdy stuff. I like movies, I like comics, I like television, and I have a lot of thoughts about those things, so why don't we talk about them? With the new Mission Impossible coming out, supposedly the last one, but I don't know, I'm skeptical. I thought it might be fun to watch and review all of the Mission Impossible films, most of which I haven't seen, other than this one, especially now, because I've watched it now, and the second one, which the last time I watched that I was like 13. So anyway, enough rambling from me, let's get into this. Like I said, I don't have a whole lot of notes, but here they are. Showing clips from the entire rest of the film as your opening is a bold choice. And I don't even mean that in a bad way. Like, you better have a good movie if you're gonna show the entire movie in the first 10 minutes. But also, it's kind of a cool tactic because that's what Shakespeare used to do. Like, if you watch or read any old Shakespeare plays, oftentimes a dude comes out and is like, hey, here's what you're about to watch. Romeo and Juliet starts with that. A guy comes out and is like, oh, we're about to tell you the story of Romeo and Juliet. These two kids who lived in they're from different families that hated each other, but those two kids loved each other. And then a bunch of circumstances happen and they both end up accidentally killing themselves. Anyway, here it is. Enjoy. People were fucking crazy back then. I don't know, man. I don't know what he was smoking. Ye old dank stash. Anyway, it's cool and it works out. Spoiler alert for the rest of the movie. One of the things we always talk about on the Media Lunch Break podcast is that if your movie can be spoiled, then it's not a good movie. Like, if you telling me the surprise twist ending all of a sudden makes the movie bad, then it's a bad movie. And I kind of feel that way about this. I think the creators, the director maybe, the cinematographer, the editor, whoever's choice it was to have this opening be this way, understood this. That, like, showing you the pieces of the movie doesn't ruin the movie, because the movie is still really good regardless of what you know about it. And yeah, it's just a really bold choice, and it owns it. And it earns it, frankly. The music was made by Danny Elfman. I saw that in the opening title stuff when they're naming people who are in it or whatever, and I was like, oh, no shit, Danny Elfman. I kind of felt like when Obi-Wan says,
now that's a name I've not heard in a long time.
At the beginning, when John Voight is listening to, I remember his character's name, Jim? Might be Jim. But when John Voight is listening to the, your mission, should you choose to accept it tape or whatever, after the end it says this tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds, and John Voight, who's listening to it on an airplane, lights up a cigarette and takes a puff and then, blows out the smoke so that it camouflages the smoke coming out of the tape listening device. The recorder? It's not a recorder. Tape player? Tape players were from my generation. I should know the name of them. But anyway, yeah, he takes a hit of his cigarette and blows out a bunch of smoke on an airplane, which shows you how old this movie is. I've written here in my notes just the words, the scene with the aquarium. God, I remember that scene. I remember it so vividly as a kid, and it was exactly the same as I remembered it. Ethan Hunt thinks he's, like, going to his boss to be like, you don't understand, this is what's happening. It's all, the fish is rotting from the head down, and there's a mole, and something crazy is happening and I need help, but they think that he's the bad guy because he's the only one left alive. And so how does he get out of it? He has a little piece of gum that's actually an explosive device that when you crunch it all up, you have about 5 seconds before it explodes. And he puts that on a giant aquarium in the restaurant he's in, and it explodes and there's like a tidal wave. It's probably like, I don't know, that aquarium is probably like 100 gallons, and there's definitely like 1,000 gallons of water. But it's cool. It looks great. Tom Cruise doesn't look as cool running out of it as I remember, but I've seen trailers from the other movies and he definitely got better at running on screen. I think I remember an actor who's friends with Tom Cruise talking about, like, he asked him, what's the one thing that if you're gonna be an action star that you would want to tell people as just like beginner advice. And Tom Cruise said something like, you never look as cool running as you think you're going to while you're filming it. And yeah, I wonder if he learned that from this movie, because he looks like an idiot when he's running out of that restaurant. I also wrote here, it's very funny seeing old man John Voight punch young man Tom Cruise hard enough in the stomach that he doubles over and falls to the ground. John Voight, also famously in this movie in real life, Not a great guy. Look it up. And yeah, he's just a little old man punching a 23-year-old jacked Tom Cruise in the stomach. I don't know. I think he's trying to play him as well. Ethan Hunt. I think he's trying to, make him feel like he has the upper hand when he really doesn't. And so that might be part of what he's doing. He might be like, oh, you got me. But like, not really. You know what I mean? And the last note that I actually wrote is this movie is so damn well directed. Who directed this movie? Who's responsible for this? Brian De Palma. I'm terrible with directors. I don't know who that is. What else did he do? Oh, Carrie. That's a good movie. Where's his... Wow, he's done a lot. Okay. Black Dahlia. Sure. Femme Fatale. Mission to Mars. Snake Eyes. Yikes. Carlito's Way. Raising King. The Untouchables. Sure. Scarface. Shit. Phantom of the Paradise. Shut up. If you don't know what Phantom of the Paradise is, look it up. Damn. Interesting. Looks like he did not get a nomination for Mission Impossible, which is kind of crazy because that movie is very well directed. He also got 3 Golden Globe nominations for Scarface, but didn't win any awards for it? That's crazy. Anyway, Mission Impossible is a good movie. The direction is very interesting. Great use of Dutch angles, I think it's called, which is just like a weird... It's a motorcycle. You probably can't hear that on here, but great use of Dutch angles, which is just like if you don't know what that is, it's like a weird kind of lopsided way to show that something's off. You've probably seen it a million times. It's just like an angle from below looking up and kind of cocked to the side. He does that great. He makes a great use of that to show something's weird. There's great, interesting shots. He gets really interesting camera placement. And I have a theory, and we'll see how this plays out for the rest of the movies. I suspect Tom Cruise is only as good as his director, because he's not that good in this. Ving Rhames is great. Jean Reno is in this, incredible. There are very good actors in this, and actors who are fine. They do the job. Tom Cruise does a great job with the tense scenes, where he's having a meeting in the scene with the aquarium that I was talking about in the restaurant. He very clearly is like engaged and tense, and like he's sweating, and like he's very, very clearly like locked in. But in the scenes where he's not locked in, he's like just kind of there. I don't know, he seems like he's just sort of saying the lines that they gave him in a script. Joking around with the boys or whatever, and it's like, it's fine, I guess. But those scenes that are tapped in, and I get the feeling as well that that's what the director does well also. Like those scenes in the beginning where they're just like hanging out, being bros, it's clearly just a camera locked off and it's just watching what's happening. So he's kind of, I don't want to use the word phoning it in, because this movie isn't phoned in, but he's just kind of doing it. He's like, here's the camera for those scenes, and Ethan Hunt, Tom Cruise, is also like, here are the lines that were written for me to say. And then once we get into the really interesting, meaty scenes, it's very clear that the director is locked in to what he wants to do and how he wants to tell the story, and so is Tom Cruise. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the rest of the movies. And yeah, all that having been said, those are my thoughts on the first movie. Again, I really liked it. I think it holds up well. It definitely has some issues, but not many. There are like thriller aspects of this film as well, with some like kind of gruesome death scenes. It's a very intricate way of telling a story that I think hadn't really been done before this. It reminds me a bit of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, but when I saw that in theaters, I was like, I don't understand this. It's too smart for me. Mission Impossible isn't too smart for you. They lay it all out. But it is it has some twists and turns that you don't expect, but then once they happen, you're like, oh. And I think it holds up well as a movie, even especially considering it's almost 30 years old. Christ. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see the rest of the reviews of the Mission Impossible films. I am going through all of them and reviewing all of them, putting out a different video for each movie. Leading up to the culmination of the work, the 8th film, The Final Reckoning. So yeah, hit subscribe, hit like, share this around. If you're in a movie group, let people know that it's happening. And beyond that, keep an eye out. And my review for the second one is going to be out pretty soon, I think. All right, catch you next time.